Ghost. That was Douglas Fairbanks, not too bad of one. And the whole thing lasted for they beat the 3-hour mark on that awards. It lasted for a whopping 15 minutes. But there was a dinner served with it. But most of you probably know that Wings is the first Academy Award winner for Best Picture. And that is true. It is. It won Outstanding Picture that evening. But there was another Best Picture that night. And it's the only time in Oscars history, wasn't called Oscar back then, but in the Academy Awards history, in which there were 2 Best Pictures. The other one was for Most Unique and Artistic Picture. Don't you love the word picture? You know, it's like it's a picture. And the film that won that award was produced by William Fox, and it's called Sunrise, which we're going to be screening here. And so it was the other Best Picture winner, and the only time they gave out this unique and artistic picture production, which is a shame in a way. It was directed by F.W. Murnau, and Murnau, of course, was Fox had, yeah, absolutely. Fox had lured him away from Germany by offering him the opportunity to do Sunrise, which he wanted to do, and also offering him an unlimited budget and total control over the film, which of course doesn't happen very much in Hollywood. And F.W. Murnau, of course, had become known as one of the great, if not the greatest, German expressionist filmmaker. His use of light and shadow and roving camera work, like the other German expressionists, was quite amazing, terrific. Those films in Germany that were coming over and being seen here were, of course, these masterworks. They were films that were using light and shadow in new ways. They were exploring psychological depth in ways that films hadn't done before, and they were really raising it to the level of art. And so, you know, it was clear that this was a new art form for the 20th century. So Murnau's use of nature and of light and shadow in a film like the 1922 Nosferatu really drew attention to everybody. And of course, it probably is considered by many to still be the best version of Dracula that has ever been made, maybe surpassing Todd Browning's later version. Very uncanny motion picture. And of course, a few years later, he did The Last Laugh, which has mobile camera work in it, almost like, you know, you're shooting it with an iPhone. It's really amazing for the time. Well, anyway, Fox gave him an unlimited budget, and he used it. He spent a lot of money on this film. But the result is an amazing motion picture. It's atmospheric, it's lyrical, it's poetic, and in many ways, it's almost an experimental film. In any case, it's innovative in almost every single way. And, you know, in terms of a story, it's almost less of a story than it is, just as the title suggests, a song, some kind of lyric poem that he's creating. Well, the narrative itself is actually rather strange when you think about it. I won't give anything away, but it's a strange merging of psychological drama, of comedy, and a critique of modern times even. And like Nosferatu, it's really a bifurcated film, meaning that it's good, very simple, it's good against evil, it's country innocence set against the backdrop of city decadence, it's black contrasted with white, it's night giving way to morning. Sunrise came out in September of 1927, and that's just as silent film was beginning to give way to sound film. But Murnau chose not, even though he had access to Movietone, which was what you're going to hear with this print that is being screened today, he chose to only do sound effects and a score, and not do sync sound dialogue. This allowed him to tell the story through powerful images as opposed to dialogue, and of course to keep that camera moving that he liked to do. The movie tone system was an optical sound on film system, which was the one that actually would supersede the more famous at the time Warner Brothers system, which was the Vitaphone system that had a disc that played along. So even in that sense, Sunrise is really on the leading edge. And the cinematography also is very innovative. It's fluid, it's atmospheric, and it won Charles Rosher and Carl Struss Academy Awards, the very first Academy Awards for Best Cinematography. Take a look at the tracking shot in this through the swamp when the two lovers meet under the moonlight, and I think you'll see what I mean about groundbreaking sequences. The film was shot in Hollywood. I think it was probably shot at the corner of Western and Sunset where the Fox Film Corporation was. It was also shot up at Lake Arrowhead. So it's an American film, but it looks like a European film. And as Mark Cousins says in his book, The Story of Film, the last great movie of German cinema was made in America. It looks like a European film. They would go on to influence numerous Hollywood films of the studio era, such as John Ford's The Informer, and of course with its flawed protagonist, and its angles and its use of light and shadow, it very much foreshadows film noir. Murnau has said that he wanted cinema to be cinema. And Sunrise, I think, is without a doubt one of the most cinematic movies that's ever been made. The camera, it's almost like you are the camera in parts of this film, floating through a kind of dreamscape. And his use of very cinematic techniques like montage sequences, multiple exposures, are very cinematic approaches that really film does better than any other medium. It's a movie, I think, that will haunt you after you see it. You'll think about it after you see it. And, just to kind of end where I began, it probably is truly a unique and artistic production, and a really great one. It winds up on so many people's top 10 lists. So please enjoy Sunrise. Thank you.